Hello, this is Yuri with another original story from the Tales History Channel. Vasily looked around at the mess once again. Every morning, as he got ready for work, he promised himself he'd clean up. But by evening, it was the same old routine. He'd come home with a bottle of cheap wine, drink it down, and pass out. He'd been living like this for over a year, ever since Natasha left him for a better life in the city. They had met at a village disco. Vasily had never seen her before. Local girls usually avoided him. Tall, strong, and working at a farm that used to be a collective but was now privately owned, he was considered a catch. Vasily was known as the best mechanic around. Tractors, combines, you name it, he could handle it. The men said he had a special touch with machines. He lived alone. His grandmother, who had raised him, passed away the moment he turned 18, as if she'd been waiting for him to stand on his own 2 feet. No one expected him to return to the village after his studies, but he did. He built a house, worked tirelessly, and ignored the girls. He was determined to get on his feet first, so he wouldn't be ashamed to bring a wife home. He knew what it was like to go hungry and cold. His grandmother had saved on everything, even firewood. And then there was Natasha. One smile from her, and he was lost. They married quickly. She liked that he was reliable and promised to take her away from her large family, whereas the eldest, she was always helping out. Vasily spoiled her. Clothes, gifts, things no one in the village had ever seen. Natasha wasn't used to hard work, nor did she want to be. Life was good. 3 years passed. Then one day she said, "Vasya, how much longer are we going to stay here? Everyone is moving to the city, building a future, and we're just rotting away in this village." He didn't understand. "You're from here yourself. What's pulling you to the city? We have everything. I'll even get running water soon. It'll be like an apartment." Natasha paced nervously. "Theaters, cafes, culture. Do you even understand what I'm talking about?" That day they fought. They made up, but never revisited the conversation. 3 weeks later, Vasily came home from work to an empty house. On the table was a note. "I've left with someone who understands me. I took your savings, compensation for the years I wasted." From that day on, he changed. Sold off the farm, let the house fall into disrepair. He still went to work, but drank more often. His boss scolded him, but Vasily stayed silent. The day he was reprimanded for smelling of alcohol, he bought not half a liter, but 2 bottles. Vasily sighed, looking around. How he wanted to close his eyes to it all. A couple of times he tried to clean up, but he'd find Natasha's hairpin or their wedding album, and he'd stop. Stepping outside, he shivered. The frost bit at his nose. He'd have to work hard to start his tractor. How many times had he argued with his boss about the unheated garage? Suddenly, he froze. It was dark, and he hadn't expected to hear a stranger's voice in his yard. He spun around. Before him stood a young woman, a child clinging to her. "Good Lord, what are you doing here so early in this frost and with a child?" The woman shrugged vaguely. "It just happened. Do you know where we could find shelter? Vanya is exhausted. We just don't have any money." Vasily took a closer look. She seemed young, though it was hard to tell in the dark. He knew his villagers. They'd call the police before helping strangers. He glanced at the boy, no more than 5, then at his watch. If he was late, everyone would assume he'd been drinking again.
"All right," he said, digging into his pocket for his keys. "Go to my place. The house is warm and there should be food. Just don't go outside. Too many questions. I'll be back after 6. He tossed her the keys and ran toward the garages. It didn't even occur to him that strangers might rob him. The day flew by. Anxiety crept in by evening when he habitually turned toward the store but didn't stop. He bought a bottle, added some candy, unsure if his guests were still there. The house was lit. Vasily paused. So unusual, so unfamiliar. He approached the window and peeked inside. His face fell. The room was immaculate, everything tidy. On the couch under a blanket sat a young woman with a boy, flipping through a book. Vasily looked closer and sighed sadly. He had once dreamed Natasha would have his child and had bought every children's book from the village store. Now they gathered dust and piles. The smell of food wafted from the house, a forgotten scent that made him swallow hard. He looked at the bottle in his hand and quickly hid it. The woman jumped up when he entered, blushing. "Hello. Sorry, Vanya and I tidied up a bit. I made dinner." Vasily was taken aback. He hadn't expected the vagrant to be so pleasant. He didn't refuse dinner. The woman rushed to the table, and he, taking off his shoes, approached the boy and held out his hand. The child smiled shyly and took the candy, only after his mother's almost imperceptible nod. Vasily sat down, inhaled the aroma of hot borscht, and even closed his eyes in pleasure. When his plate was empty, he looked at his guest, who was waiting for his reaction. It was incredibly delicious. She smiled. "We should probably go. We've already imposed too much on your hospitality." Vasily raised his eyebrows in surprise. "Are you in a hurry somewhere?" "No," Nastya admitted, that was her name, stepping out of the room where she had put Vanya to bed. "It's just, we don't want to be a burden." Over tea an hour later, she shared her story. "Don't get me wrong, we're not homeless. It's just, I went to study, trusted the wrong guy, made a mistake. I don't regret it because I have Vanya, but I had to return to my mother, who had remarried. She wasn't happy to see me, worried about her new husband. Vanya was born and things seemed to settle down, but my stepfather decided my mother was too old for him and I was a better fit. I told him off. My mother found out, blamed me, and said she'd take my parental rights. We had to run." Vasily stirred his spoon thoughtfully. "Stay here for now. The house is empty most of the time. We'll figure something out." A week passed in a blur. Vasily forgot he used to drink in the evenings. Now he tinkered with Vanya, read books to him. The house was clean, warm. Nastya spoiled them with delicious dinners. This was the life he had always dreamed of. Too bad it wasn't his. One day a neighbor called out, "Congratulations! Natasha's back! Been home for a couple of hours now." Vasily paled. He rushed inside. Natasha sat on the couch, beautiful and confident. "Aren't you happy to see me?" He strode over and lifted her abruptly. "Where are they?" Natasha cried out. "How should I know? They probably went home." Vasily dashed for the door, but turned back. "When I return, I don't want to see you here." Natasha couldn't believe it. She was sure he'd be overjoyed. Vasily ran through the village, praying his boss would still be there. His boss listened, nodded toward his jeep. "Take it. Better ground clearance than your tractor." 5 kilometers away, he spotted them under a tree. Nastya was crying. "She said you love her, that people like us don't deserve to live." Vasily hugged her. "Tomorrow we'll file the paperwork. I'll take care of you both." Vanya smiled. "Does that mean you'll be my dad?" At their wedding, Nastya's mother and her husband showed up. "Vanya, get your things. We're taking you home. And this one, we'll make sure she's dealt with." Vasily stood up. "Who were you to barge into my house without knocking?" The young husband stormed out. The mother rushed after him.